When we look at modern electric vehicles, it is so easy to focus completely on those massive battery packs or the crazy powerful electric motors. But there's actually a piece of invisible engineering magic sitting right between them that makes the whole shebang function. Today, we're diving into the translator's journey, demystifying a component that is absolutely crucial to every single EV on the road, the motor control unit.
So think about this for a second. How exactly does an electric vehicle convert raw static battery power into that incredibly smooth, instant acceleration we all love? I mean, it's an immense engineering puzzle. You have to perfectly control motor speed, manage the torque for climbing hills, handle reversing, and even orchestrate regenerative braking, and you've got to do it all in real time. The big question is, how on earth is all of that coordinated so flawlessly?
Well, here's our roadmap for this explainer. 1. Meet the EV's brain. 2. Inside the motor control unit. 3. Step-by-step power flow. 4. Controlling speed and torque. And 5. Regenerative braking and safety.
Let's jump right into Section 1. Meet the EV's brain.
The ultimate technological solution to our EV power problem is the motor control unit, or just the MCU for short. The MCU is an electronic controller perfectly positioned right between the high-voltage battery and the traction motor. And you can really just think of it as a translator. See, the battery stores power as direct current, or DC. But most EV motors, they require highly precise three-phase alternating current, or AC. Because the battery speaks DC and the motor speaks AC, the MCU is absolutely critical. It translates the power, and by doing that, it manages the motor's speed, torque, direction, and all the safety protections. Honestly, without this translator, the motor literally wouldn't know what to do with the battery's energy. So, what does this hardware actually look like?
That brings us to Section 2, inside the motor control unit. Okay, let's pop the hood on this thing. There are 5 physical components that collaborate to make the MCU work. First up is the power inverter. This is the heavy lifter. It actually converts the battery's DC voltage into the 3-phase AC voltage the motor needs. And it does this using incredibly fast switching devices like IGBTs, MOSFETs, or even super advanced silicon carbide MOSFETs. Next, we have the microcontroller. This is the true brain inside the MCU. It takes in all the requests from your accelerator pedal, the brake pedal, and the vehicle control unit, and it figures out exactly what commands to send to the inverter. Third is the gate driver circuit. You can picture this as the physical interface. It's what physically turns those power switches in the inverter on and off thousands of times every single second. Crazy fast, right? Fourth, we've got the sensors. These are your watchdogs, constantly monitoring battery voltage, motor current, and phase current to make sure everything is safe. And finally, the cooling system. Processing all this juice generates a massive amount of heat, so liquid or air cooling is used to keep the MCU from melting down. These 5 parts, they work together in perfect harmony.
All right, Section 3, Step-by-step power flow.
Let's look at the first half of this journey, the initial action phase. Imagine you're in the driver's seat. Step 1, your foot presses the accelerator pedal. Immediately, that pedal shoots a signal to the vehicle control unit, or VCU. Step 2, the VCU calculates exactly how much torque you're asking for. So let's say you press the pedal halfway down. The VCU might calculate, okay, we need 50 Newton meters of torque. Step 3, the VCU sends that specific torque request plus data about the motor's current speed and position straight to our translator, the MCU. Step 4, to fulfill that request, the MCU pulls high-voltage DC power from the battery, and depending on the vehicle you're in, that battery power could be 48 volts, 400 volts, or even a whopping 800 volts.
But remember, our language barrier. The motor can't use that raw DC power. So, in the second half of the journey, Step 1 kicks off when the MCU's internal inverter uses those MOSFETs or IGBTs we talked about earlier. They switch on and off thousands of times per second, converting that DC power into 3-phase AC voltage and current. Step 2, these 3 phases of AC power are fed directly into the motor windings. Step 3, this creates a rotating magnetic field which literally grabs hold of the motor's rotor and forces it to spin. And finally, Step 4, that spinning rotor mechanically translates into the vehicle's wheels turning, and boom, you are moving forward in the blink of an eye.
Moving on to Section 4, Controlling Speed and Torque. Now that the car is actually moving, you have to understand the difference between speed and torque and how the MCU controls them totally independently. It's an elegant solution. Motor speed depends primarily on the AC frequency. If the MCU outputs a lower frequency, you get a lower speed.
If it ramps up to a higher frequency, you go faster. It's really that simple, and the MCU is tweaking this continuously as you drive. On the other hand, motor torque, which is that push you back in your seat power, is regulated by the motor current. If you're just cruising down a flat highway, the MCU provides less current. That lowers the torque and saves precious battery energy. But if you suddenly start climbing a steep hill, the MCU instantly pumps way more current into the motor, giving you higher torque to push you up that incline. So, frequency for speed, current for torque. But what happens when you let off the pedal?
That takes us right into Section 5, Regenerative Braking and Safety.
This is without a doubt one of the coolest functions of the MCU. Step 1. You release the accelerator or tap the brake. Step 2. The MCU instantly flips the script on the motor. Instead of consuming power to push the car, the motor actually becomes a generator. Step 3. The mechanical energy from the rolling wheels is captured and converted back into electrical energy. Step 4. The MCU takes that newly generated electricity and sends it right back home into the battery. The benefits here are huge. You get increased driving range, drastically reduced wear and tear on your physical brake pads, and just a massive boost to overall vehicle efficiency. It's a real game changer.
And through all of this intense pushing and pulling of power, the MCU acts as a vigilant guardian. It doesn't work in isolation. It operates within a highly complex ecosystem. It's constantly monitoring the temperature of the motor and its own inverter, along with the battery voltage. It's actively hunting for short circuits, overspeed conditions, and any abnormal current levels. If it senses trouble, it can instantly protect these super expensive drivetrain components by reducing power, limiting torque, or safely shutting the motor down completely. Plus, it's chattering away with the rest of the car over the CAN network. It syncs seamlessly with the vehicle control unit, the battery management system, your dashboard instrument cluster, the charger, and the ABS. Like I said, it is the ultimate team player.
So, we've seen how the motor control unit converts raw battery power into controlled motion, manages your torque and speed, pulls off regenerative braking, and keeps the whole vehicle safe. It truly is the unsung hero of the EV revolution. But as electric vehicles keep pushing the boundaries of extreme power and hyper-efficiency, how is this invisible translator going to evolve next? Are we going to see entirely new materials beyond silicon carbide? Even faster switching speeds? The engineering possibilities are honestly thrilling. Thank you so much for joining me to explore the magic of the MCU today. Keep learning, keep asking questions, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.